Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video, and today I've got the 2019 40 horsepower Tohatsu with me, and I'm going to show you how to do a 100-hour service yourself and potentially save hundreds of dollars. I'm also going to link all the parts that you'll need, give you a list of tools that will be needed for these jobs, and just go over basic maintenance of the outboard and some things to check while you're doing your 100-hour service. First and foremost, I'm going to change the engine oil. So I got the water hooked up. I'm going to run the engine for about 5, maybe 10 minutes. Make sure it's nice and hot, and it's going to make it a lot easier to get all the oil out. With everything heated, going to go ahead and take the cowling off and move it to the side. Yep. That's nice and warm, so definitely hot enough to change the oil. We're going to remove our oil check plug. You can see that oil still looks quite clean, maybe a little difficult to tell on camera. Not a whole lot of use on it this year, just starting to get a little bit of color in it. But this is going to allow the system not to have a vacuum on it, so when we go to undo the drain plug, all that oil is going to flow out easily. Now the dipstick's removed, I have a 16mm socket, and I'm just going to undo this drain bolt right here. And that's going to allow me to clean up all this oil. Go ahead and get it started. Keep pressure on these threads as you're letting it go. That's going to keep the oil in. And then once you get to the end of the threads, in one swift motion, you're just going to pull out and up quickly. A little bit better than that. As the oil continues to drain, first thing I'm looking at is the color. I'm going to see if it's milky at all. Fortunately, this is not, so it means that water's not getting into it, anything of that nature. Second thing I'm going to use is this small magnet. I'm just going to run it through the oil, see if any metal particulate matter is making it through the filter itself. You're going to have a little bit of metal shavings, but you should see some very fine ones. If you start seeing any larger pieces or a significant amount, it'll be pretty obvious. Then you know you have some problems to deal with. But like I said, just take this magnet. I'm just going to run it through. Just taking a look. The end of the magnet is clean. So whatever shavings there were definitely caught in the filter itself. That is a good sign. That's the next thing we're going to check. Next thing is going to be the oil filter. Now, there's two ways to get this off. First, always put a couple paper towels down here that'll catch oil. But I have an 18mm socket for this particular one since it's got that hex bolt on the back. You can also use, I believe it's a 24 or 27. I will verify that. Oil filter socket, and just goes on the back of there. A couple of taps with a mallet, and that will also come off. I prefer these bolts. It's just a little bit easier. But just going to take it. Now we got that oil out. We'll go ahead and get this bad boy off. I'm just going to screw it and try to lift it up as quickly as possible. There we go. Yeah, quite a bit of oil seeping down through there. Just going to take my canister, tip it over, and just put it into my oil pan. One of my favorite tools for a job like this is an AC Delco torque adapter, and in essence, just a 3/8 inch wrench. You can put it on top of there. Now, the oil filter takes 13 foot-pounds, so I've set this 13 foot-pounds, and it's going to let me know using these lights and a buzzer when I get close to that value and when I hit that value to reach manufacturer specs. A dabble of oil on my hand, just going to go around that O-ring nice and gently. And once that's done, I want to go ahead, hand screw it to begin with. You do not want to mess up these threads, or you really are in trouble. I'm going to go ahead, just start it by hand. There we go. Hit that torque spec. Oil filter is now installed. Now we can add new oil. Have our drain bolt and our crush nut on here. Now we go ahead and by hand, we'll go ahead and gently place this in. Make sure we don't cross-thread anything. Went ahead and set the torque adapter to 17 foot-pounds. That is what's required for the strain bolt. Pop that in real quick. Throw it in there. There we go. Now our drain bolt is in. We'll clean that up just a little bit along with any of this excess oil that's dropped off into the anti-cavitation plate. Now this engine's going to take 2,400 milliliters of oil, 2,200 if you don't change the oil filter. But I just have this little funnel here. It does 1 liter at a time. That's not an issue. Go ahead, I'm going to fill this up. There we go, got that. I'm just going to let that tube go and let all that oil drain in. And this is the last of the 2,400 milliliters. All right, let's go ahead and check it real quick. So about halfway up the dipstick, a little low. Let me go ahead and add a little bit more. Perfect. Maybe a little bit more difficult to tell on camera, but engine oil is filled up right where it needs to be. Hit that full line perfectly. So, engine oil is complete. That has been knocked out. Now, we're going to move on to the foot and get that done. Next is our lower gear unit oil. So we have this one bolt right here on the bottom, and then we have another fill oil level bolt up top. These could be a pain to get out. I would recommend keeping one of these on hand just in case this ends up being stripped. But a good flathead screwdriver, there are some specialty made tools that have a thicker tip just for these bolts, and a good wrench. And if you get them with these corner sides, you'll see why this wrench comes in handy. You set that in there. Hopefully this won't be too bad, but I'm going to go ahead and get it started. Get that lined up as best I can, get as much surface area. I'm going to push up against the screwdriver to make sure it doesn't strip out this bolt. Alright, I got it started. Go ahead and give it a little bit more half turn. I'll get it over the oil before I do it the rest of the way. Go ahead and undo this one the rest of the way, hopefully without dropping it, if I can help it. And you see how that gear oil is just kind of slowly leaking out. That's because of the vacuum created by this top one. Now we'll undo it. What I'm looking for here is if this color is milky or anything of that nature. Fortunately, it is not. It's just dark. So it is used. Time to put some more in it. But that's what you want to see. If it's milky, that means you got a crack somewhere, or you could have a gasket somewhere on the prop shaft going into the lower unit. Something's wrong and it's letting water get in here. So while the gear oil is changing, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick check on all of my anodes. So I got one right here. This one has plenty of life left. Got some on the brackets. These have plenty of life. And I believe we have, yep, one somewhere on the engine. There it is, right there. That's another anode. All of these look good. If you saw these really, really corroded and just about worn out, you definitely want to replace them. However, since I use the boat mainly in fresh water and only sometimes in salt, I don't have nearly that issue. These should last quite a long time. Another thing you can check real quick is this fuel filter. Now, I pulled this off not too long ago and I checked the screen. It was fine. The main thing I'm looking right now is at this orange float. This orange float in the bottom, in essence, since it's all the way at the bottom, it means this is filled with gas. If you were to see this all the way up here, you would be concerned. That means that there's water inside your fuel filter. You got water in your gas, so you need to flush the whole system. But in this case, since the float's all the way at the bottom, this thing's filled with gas, I'm good to go here. We also know this because the engine is running smoothly and has over 2 or 3 starts now. Still waiting on this oil to drain, so in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead, turn the truck on, get the hazard lights on both sides, and make sure my tail lights work, make sure I'm legal on the road, everything of that nature next. So for gear lube, I just have this 80W90 synthetic blend, Starbright. Basically, as long as you stay within the specs of the manufacturer, you're going to be fine. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead, This is where it comes in handy. You can get these in squirt bottles where you go through the bottom and you check your oil level at the top. But honestly, these pumps are extremely convenient. I highly recommend them for an extra couple of dollars. They make this job a lot easier. This adapter is going to fit into the bottom where you drain your oil. And since this is viscous, you always go from the bottom to the top. That makes sure that all the cavities get filled and it pushes out any air through this top portion. And that ensures that with this entire thing filled with oil, you don't have enough room for water or anything of that nature to enter the lower unit as long as everything's tight. So let's go ahead and get that set up. With all this set up, we're going to go ahead and start pumping fluid in. What we want to see is some escape from this top bolt. That makes sure that we know it's filled. And then make sure you have your gaskets ready, put it on your plugs, and place them back into the engine block. I can hear the air being pushed out. It's hard to see, but I just saw a drizzle come out. So I want to do one more pump, make sure that is filled. Yep. So just that little bit, and I know that this thing is filled to the brim. Go ahead and wipe that excess away. And I'll go ahead and put in my plug and it'll create a vacuum, so when I go to undo it from the bottom, it won't just all immediately seep out. Get that snugged in a little bit. Take the wrench and snug it up just a little bit more after that. Right. This always seems to take me a couple tries, but we're going to reset the oil alarm for the 100-hour service. So I'll turn the key on. Within 1 second of the buzzer going off, I'll pop the kill cord off, give it 5 to 10 seconds, pull the red knob, release it. 5 to 10 more seconds, pull the red knob, release it quickly, and then after 5-10 seconds, it should reset. 1, 6, 1, 2, 6. And there you go. Those 3 slow chirps. This is reset for the 100-hour service, and everything's been complete. Now, the one thing I haven't done on video, but it's something you should do at your 100-hour service, is grease all of your fittings. So you got 3 in total. You got this one right here. This is for the shaft for a rotating engine. I did this one relatively recently. Well, actually all these. Second one is going to be right there. That's more specific to if you have this 40 horse set up to a steering wheel setup. And the final one that I can remember right now is this one back here for this hinge. You can see that's got PTFE grease on it, and it is rolling smoothly. That is it for the 100-hour service. Went ahead and replaced the engine oil and the gear oil, and you don't have to replace the oil filter, but every other oil change, but I like to just go ahead and do it with every oil change. It's once a year. Might as well do it. Checked our anodes, we checked our fuel filter, we did a few checks on the trailer. The only other things I would check on the trailer is to make sure that my tire pressure is good, springs are fine, they're not corroded or anything, and that's really it there. As far as the engine goes, the only other thing that is not associated with the 100-hour service, but I would recommend looking into, is your reservoir for your hydraulic or ATF fluid for trim and tilt of the outboard. If you notice that you have a clunk clunk noise, or it's not raising, lowering, or it seems to be pausing, you're probably just a little low on fluid. Go ahead, take that red cap, you can't miss it, off with the engine tilted all the way up. Put a little bit of ATF fluid in there, and once you see it drizzle out, just like with the gear oil, then you just put that red cap back in, you're filled up. Raise and lower it 5 or 6 times, and it ought to be good as new. But guys, that's it. I do hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to share, like, subscribe for more. And as always, thanks for watching.